Superbugs, or antibiotic-resistant bacteria, pose an enormous threat to human health.
This surveillance video shows a man's pants catching on fire.
A rapidly growing crater known as the Hellmouth is opening a portal to a 200,000-year-old world. 12 types of bacteria that pose the greatest risk to humanity.
The number of people who died from drug overdoses tripled.
The New York Times reports that on Monday, the World Health Organization officially warned that superbugs, or antibiotic-resistant bacteria, pose an enormous threat to human health. In addition, early on Tuesday, the WHO released an official list of the 12 most dangerous pathogens that medical experts and pharmaceutical researchers should focus their efforts on fighting first. The WHO Assistant Director General said at a press conference on Monday, "We are fast running out of treatment options. If we leave it to market forces alone, the new antibiotics we most urgently need are not going to be developed in time."
Painful reminder this morning of the dangers of e-cigarettes. This surveillance video shows a man's pants catching on fire after a spare e-cigarette battery he was carrying in his pocket shorted out when it came in contact with some coins. This is taking place in Alberta, Canada. The intense flames melted his polyester boxer shorts, fusing them to his leg and causing third-degree burns.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
A rapidly growing crater known as the Hellmouth is opening a portal to a 200,000-year-old world. The crater in northeast Siberia has many followers already. The locals are dubbing it the doorway to the underworld, and scientists are getting very excited by the wealth of information hidden below. A study in the science journal Quaternary Research explains how the 300-foot deep crater is expanding at a rate of 30 to 100 feet each year, and exposes a remarkable stratigraphic sequence of permafrost deposits. According to the New York Times, the crater is revealing eons of climate change in the region, along with long-buried animal carcasses and petrified forests. Putting everything together, it is painting a picture over the course of tens of thousands of years, and researchers hope it will help them predict what will happen in coming decades. The World Health Organization has listed the 12 types of bacteria that pose the greatest risk to humanity. The common denominator is they are all resistant to antibiotics. About 700,000 people die every year from drug-resistant bacterial infections. WHO has listed the bacteria into 3 categories: critical, high and medium priority. The 3 types of bacteria listed as critical priority have shown resistance to multiple antibiotics. These commonly cause infections in healthcare settings like nursing homes and hospitals. The rest on the list are bacteria that are resistant to the main antibiotics used to fight them, but are still largely treatable with alternative medicines. That includes salmonella and gonorrhea. WHO says if nothing is done to fight these bacteria, they could kill up to 10 million people annually by 2050.
Shocking numbers out of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control. From 1999 to 2015, the number of people who died from drug overdoses tripled. RT's Trinity Chavez has more.
Drug overdose deaths are increasing across the nation, but a new report from the CDC highlights recent trends in drug overdose deaths, and what they found may shock you. The CDC found that more than 16 out of every 100,000 Americans died of a drug overdose in 2015, compared to just over 6 in 1999. Almost half of these deaths were caused by heroin and other opioids. Dr. Caleb Alexander, a co-director for the Johns Hopkins Center for Drug and Safety and Effectiveness, said, "Each year, I think it's hard to imagine it getting much worse, and yet last year, we had the highest number of deaths on record." But it has, and the numbers only continue to grow. Drug overdose deaths increased from 1999 to 2015 in all age groups, but adults between the ages of 45 and 54 had the highest death rate in 2015. The data shows that overdose deaths have risen among whites at the rate of about 7% each year, compared to with 2% a year for blacks and Hispanics. The rate of fatal overdoses for whites in 2015 was nearly 3.5 times the rate it was in 1999. Fatal overdoses are becoming so common in the U.S. that they're driving down the average life expectancy of white Americans. Dr. Edwin Salsitz of Mount Sinai Health System here in New York City said life expectancy of whites in America is going down, whereas it's not going down for other racial or ethnic groups. Accounting for that lower life expectancy is the increased number of overdose deaths from opioids. The overall number of deaths caused by opioid overdoses has quadrupled during the same period. Beyond opioids, cocaine was responsible for 13% of fatal overdoses in 2015, up from 11% in 2010. Heroin also accounted for 1/4 of the overdose deaths in that same year, only confirming what has been widely suspected about the increase of this ongoing opioid crisis in the United States. According to doctors in recent years, prescription drug abuse has reached an all-time high, forcing drug makers, pharmacists, and physicians to crack down using certain methods like closer prescription tracking or tamper-resistant forms of medication so they can't be crushed or altered in any way.
Just seconds ago, crews cut out the broken part of the old water main and are now getting ready to replace it with a new one to prevent this from happening again, at least here. Well, now the hole is all dried up, but just hours ago it was filled with so much water that it completely covered a small SUV. Believe it or not, there is a car under all that water, sunk into the street after a water main break on Willow Avenue near 5th Street in Hoboken around 4 a.m. Hours later, a single chain lifts the small SUV drenched in mud out of the ground and takes it away. We spoke exclusively to the car's owner, who says it's time for a trip to the dealership.
The cops woke me up at 4 a.m. and asked me to go out and move my car, but by the time I got there, it was already like on an angle. So they tried to pull it out and tow it, and that didn't work, and then I watched it sink.
Then for 3 hours this morning, that car sat under brown, flowing water.
It looked very reminiscent of Sandy, actually, because I lived here through Sandy, so it was just like a street, like a river of water going down Willow Street, and it was progressively like going higher and higher.
We want to make sure that we're getting everything that needs to be repaired or replaced so that we can then go back and fill in and repave the road.
Suez Water says nearby customers should have water, but with very low pressure. But once resident Joe Sakala saw the mess this morning, he bought 10 gallons of water because he says he's been through this many times before.
It's not new. It's every month there's a break in Hoboken. For years it's been like this. You know, hopefully one day they'll fix it a little bit.
Well, right now, live, you're watching crews get ready to lower in the new water main. Now, many residents nearby we spoke to voiced similar concerns about how common these water main breaks are in Hoboken. We reached out to the city's mayor, but are still waiting on a response. We're live in Hoboken.
Most U.S. wildfires aren't wild. A new study shows humans sparked 84% of blazes over 2 decades and almost doubled the acreage burned. Researchers studied 20 years of fires that were severe enough for state or federal agencies to fight. It's the most thorough picture yet of the role humans play in wildfires. The steep numbers are because people spread fire where and when natural causes usually don't. Most fires started by lightning happen in the western half of the country and burn during the summer. Humans live everywhere in the U.S. all year round. And this is the latest research to show how climate change compounds the problem. When the environment dries out and warms up, fires, especially from human activity, get more likely. The start to fire season is creeping into spring. As it gets hotter earlier, the risk of fire increases. Researchers say this new attention on the human element of wildfires could help us prevent some of them, and even make them useful. Forestry experts say setting smaller managed fires can keep larger wild ones from getting out of control.
Mount Etna has surged into life in Sicily, spewing giant orange fountains of lava into the air. Despite being visible from as far away as Catania and Taormina, experts say this latest eruption is not dangerous. The airport at Catania is still open and operating.
Can fish predict earthquakes? Some people in the southern Philippines might tell you, or fish can. Residents there have seen several of these strange deep-sea creatures wash ashore before and after a devastating earthquake struck Surigao February 10th. A 10-foot-long oarfish was found dead in Agasan del Norte 2 days before the quake, just 125 kilometers away from Surigao City. 5 more were spotted on nearby coastlines in the days following the tremor. One measuring 15 feet long was found in Cagayan de Oro. Oarfish normally dwell thousands of feet below the surface. Scientists say they come near the surface when sick or dying and may be to blame for historic tales of sea serpents. In Japanese folklore, the fish is called the messenger from the sea god's palace, and a sighting means an earthquake is coming. In 2010, the Daily Telegraph reported multiple sightings of oarfish in Japan after earthquakes hit Chile, Haiti, and Taiwan.
Hydrophobic plants are a big problem for farmers. When they spray crops with pesticides, up to half bounces off. But scientists may have figured out how to prevent splash. In a new study, researchers added a chemical known as aerosol OT to water and found that it reduced, and in some cases even eliminated, splashing on super hydrophobic leaves. Previous research explored the possibility of using polymers to help reduce splash, but some of those polymers could actually harm the environment if left on plants. The scientists in this new study said their findings might help reduce pesticide use, leading to less waste and environmental pollution. The research could also have applications in hospitals, where chemical spills are one of the leading causes of injury. Scientists are producing floor coatings that eliminate splash when a liquid spills.
Researchers at the Vail-based Stedman Clinic and Stedman Philippon Research Institute say they are getting close to a breakthrough in slowing down the way people age and speeding up the healing process. Johnny Huard, Chief Scientific Officer and Director of the Institute's Center for Regenerative Sports Medicine, and his team are hoping to use stem cells and platelet-rich plasma to stave off age-related diseases and greatly reduce the recovery time from injuries. Mark Philippon, managing partner of the Stedman Clinic and co-chairman of the Research Institute, said, "I don't think we can reverse aging, but I think we can age better and recover from injury better." Philippon added in an interview with the Denver Post, "If your cells are aging better, you'll have less injury."